Before I start this video, I just want to give a big shout out to Jeremiah Evans for suggesting this video. As soon as I read it, I knew I had to make this video, so I appreciate that. So, Solomon Muto, Yugi's grandfather, you probably know him from things like
I wet myself.
However, I've always seen through that because I truly believe Solomon Muto has the potential to become an awesome protagonist. And to tell this story, I think we need to go back where it all started 3,000 years ago, when a brave pharaoh ruled Egypt. A great evil descended, threatening all life on earth. The pharaoh used a powerful spell and sealed the evil away alongside his own spirit into the Millennium Puzzle, erasing his own memories in the process, leaving only his name as the key to breaking the spell. So never again would that evil return. The pharaoh passed on the throne to priest Seto, and Seto carried on the pharaoh's passing wishes and broke the Millennium Puzzle into several pieces. He then began to erase all mentions of the pharaoh's name, so he was known as the nameless pharaoh in history and one of the greatest mysteries that puzzled mankind. However, that was until many years later when an archaeologist by the name of Solomon Muto and two hired guides discovered the entrance to the tomb of the pharaoh, sealed away by Seto so many years ago. There were several others before him that entered the tomb.
There was one, but he was driven mad and now wanders our village repeating the same phrase over and over. The shadow game. Beware.
The tomb was very dangerous, filled with traps and dark magic. The first guide met his end by the statues guarding the pharaoh's tomb. The second guide betrayed Solomon and shot him in the back, only to be devoured by his own greed moments later.
Ah! What's happening?
Solomon was hanging on for dear life, close to falling into the shadows. However, it was then the spirit of the pharaoh revealed himself.
I've been waiting for you.
Only later did he realize that the nameless pharaoh spared him that day so that he could become the next wielder of the Millennium Puzzle. Taking the Millennium Box with him to Domino City, he spent the next few days unable to sleep. The box called to him. It even appeared in his dreams. Solomon, being a gambler, was always searching for his next game, so he decided the Millennium Puzzle would be his next challenge. Now, before entering the tomb of the pharaoh, Solomon made a promise to himself. As a gambler, he vowed if he ever lost a game, he would give up his exciting life and open up a game shop and settle down with a family. Now, originally Solomon failed to solve the Millennium Puzzle, passing it on to his grandson. But what if he never failed? What would that mean for the world of Yugioh?
Tell me! Oh, you'll find out!
Now, Solomon, being age 40 when discovering the puzzle in the tomb, spent the next 8 years trying to assemble the puzzle, finally achieving the task. Now, why 8 years? Well, it originally took Yugi 8 years to complete the puzzle. Most of his natural talent and ability was actually inherited from his grandpa. Now, in the 8 years Solomon was working on the Millennium Puzzle, he was sought after by a man known as Mr. Otoji. He had heard stories about Solomon Muto and wanted to become his disciple and learn from him. Solomon accepted, and over the years, he learnt about Solomon's prized item, the Millennium Puzzle. He was transfixed, and through his greed, he foolishly challenged Solomon to a shadow game called the Devil's Board Game, a dice game where each player bets years of their life. Solomon had never backed down from a challenge. The riskier the game, the more interesting it was to him. Mr. Otoji didn't stand a chance and was crushed, losing 50 years of his life in one night. Solomon in his prime was very similar to Season 0 Pharaoh. He was no stranger to the shadow game and had no reservation about handing out divine punishment.
Shadow game, eh? That's exactly what I'm looking for.
Mr. Otoji, a once youthful man, now ashamed, bitter and angry, hid his face from the world behind a clown mask, and from then on was known as Mr. Clown. He had a son, Ryuji Otoji, who he forced to get revenge on his behalf, but you'll probably know him by his English name, Duke Devlin.
Don't forget my sweet ass.
Now, fast forward to Solomon solving the Millennium Puzzle. Solomon could actually read the ancient inscriptions on the Millennium Box, stating, "The person who solves this puzzle will have their wish granted," as well as, The one who solves me will receive my dark knowledge and power. Realizing he would get one chance to get a wish, he wished for what any great game master would wish for. The ultimate game. The greatest challenge. Let me know in the comments below what you think Solomon Muto would wish for. Solving the Millennium Puzzle, the spirit of the pharaoh was also intertwined with his own. Solomon welcomed the spirit. After all, it was thanks to him he was even alive today. You see, the pharaoh and Solomon were quite similar, both confident, bold, and most importantly, their faith in the heart of the cards were unrivaled. Solomon spent years searching for the ultimate challenge he had wished for. As the years passed, Solomon grew old. However, that didn't stop him. His adventures took him to Egypt with his friend Arthur Hawkins. During his time in Egypt, a mysterious figure appeared before him. Seeing Solomon with the Millennium Puzzle around his neck, he decided to look into his heart and test his worthiness. So with his Millennium Key, he unlocked his mind. However, the key was acting strangely and wasn't responding like it usually did. Solomon was hit by a flash of images of what seemed to be an ancient Egyptian version of himself. You see, Solomon Muto had an Egyptian counterpart known as Shimon, the original keeper of the Millennium Key. Bewildered, Shadi entered Solomon's mind to find two doors, one containing Solomon's subconscious, and in the second door, the spirit of the pharaoh. The pharaoh threatened Shadi.
It's all right. You may enter my chamber if that is what you desire. But I warn you, tread cautiously. I will allow no harm to come to the boy whose vessel I share.
However, allowed him access to the labyrinth, which was his own mind. He desperately attempted to maneuver around, only to be met by fatal traps.
Another trap! Never have I seen mental defenses so strong! This could be the end of me!
However, before Shadi fell into the pit of darkness, he saw Solomon's hand reach out to him, similar to how the pharaoh had saved him so long ago. Shadi realized he had found the chosen one and showed Solomon to a secret location where he revealed the Millennium Stone and told him about the destiny of the pharaoh.
5,000 years ago, Egyptian kings played a game of great and terrible power. These shadow games were played with real magic and real monsters. But those games erupted into a war that threatened to destroy the entire world. Until a brave pharaoh locked the magic away, sealing the monsters in stone tablets.
And with that, Shadi disappeared, and Solomon vowed to help the pharaoh achieve his destiny, putting his own goal of finding the ultimate challenge as a secondary one. Solomon spent the rest of his time with Arthur exploring tombs. Now, Arthur being such a kind soul, he made Solomon see the world in a different light. During one of their digs, the tomb collapsed, and Solomon sacrificed the last of the water to save Arthur's life.
You didn't have to surrender. I couldn't let you lose this jewel, Arthur. You need the water. Solomon, thank you.
Arthur then in turn gave Solomon the Blue Eyes White Dragon card, which Solomon treasured as it represented the strong friendship and bond between Solomon and Arthur. However, the Blue Eyes White Dragon attracted unwanted attention. Seto Kaiba tracked him down. Seto was willing to pay ridiculous amounts of money and dual monster cards for that Blue Eyes.
Listen to me, old man. Give me your Blue Eyes White Dragon card and I'll trade you all of these.
But Solomon refused, unwilling to part with the Blue Eyes. Seto sent hired goons to bring him to Kaiba Corp. However, when threatened, the Pharaoh took over, in which he challenged the goons to a punishment game and sent their minds to the Shadow Realm.
闇の扉が開かれた。
However, Solomon had begun to be bothered by the extreme punishment games sentenced by the Pharaoh. It was an inner struggle, as this was the way they had always done things in the past. Solomon willingly chose to make his way to Kaiba Corp, as there was a possibility Seto Kaiba was a challenge he was searching for. The duel commenced. The winner of the duel would take the Blue Eyes White Dragon he had been given by Arthur. The duel was tough. Seto Kaiba was certainly a challenge. He already had 3 of the Blue Eyes and only wanted his so no one could use it against him. Seto blasted through any opposition he managed to scramble together. However, Solomon's belief in his friends and the heart of the cards were strong, another flash from his past appeared.
And now, with the power of the sacred Millennium Key, I call upon the Forbidden One! Exodia!
He drew the final piece of Exodia.
Exodia! Obliterate!
The pharaoh intended to send Seto's mind to the Shadow Realm. However, Solomon intervened. So instead of sending Seto to the Shadow Realm, he set Kaiba's mind free from the shadows clouding it. The pharaoh was now playing by Solomon's rules. This was a tough obstacle for them, but Solomon stood his ground.
I meant no harm. I only wanted to help, and I vow never to go against your wishes again.
And the bond between Solomon and the pharaoh grew, and eventually the pharaoh learned to care for others as deeply as Solomon now did. As new threats came to face them, Solomon met them head on, taking on an alter ego with a mask.
He'll be facing off against our mystery duelist! A man whose true identity remains unknown, Oda!
He did this so he wasn't underestimated due to his age. Solomon, with the help of the pharaoh, dispatched the evils one after another, defeating them and saving the world from evil. Eventually, Solomon had the 3 Egyptian god cards in his hand, and it was time for the pharaoh to face the great evil which plagued Egypt so many years ago, Zork, the evil one. Solomon followed the pharaoh into the past. And learnt more about his Egyptian counterpart, Shimon. And with Solomon's help, the pharaoh learnt his true name.
Yes, my ancient name has been revealed. I am King Atem!
And defeated Zork once and for all. Now finally back from their adventures, the time had come for the pharaoh to depart into the afterlife and join his father in the land of the kings. However, for the pharaoh to leave the mortal world, he must first take part in the battle ritual.
In order for the pharaoh to enter the spirit world, he must first face off against a worthy opponent in battle and lose.
For only when Atem loses can he be at rest. Solomon realized that only he could be the one to face the pharaoh. Putting the Millennium items into the Millennium Stone, the pharaoh and Solomon split for the first time. And only when they were apart did it dawn on Solomon. The challenge he had wished for had come true from the very moment he had completed the puzzle. Helping Atem retrieve his lost memories and sending him where he belonged had been one of the greatest challenges he had ever faced. And now the final duel between Solomon and Atem was the last piece to the greatest game he had ever played. Now Solomon had a special deck he was preparing for this occasion, a deck containing the legendary Ancient Dragon. This deck relied on 7 pieces, which him and Arthur had been constructing together in secret. With their spirits connected, it was very difficult for Solomon to hide this secret from Atem. However, Solomon knew he needed an ace card up his sleeve if this day ever arrived. And with the mighty Ancient Dragon, Solomon defeated Atem, finally able to put his soul at rest. If you like this video, make sure you go check out my other videos, and don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Thanks for watching.